Good day, it's the Recordist here. So just over 2 weeks ago, I asked you all to ask me anything. I set a time limit of 2 weeks, which in retrospect was far too long of a time. And you did just that, so I'm going to cover all your questions right now. This may be a long one, so I'm going to jump right into it. So, without any other title splashes or anything, at long last, here we go. So Brent from Iowa asks, say you're a doting father who wants to capture the best possible audio of his kid's choir or band concerts on a budget. How would you tackle this, knowing you can't very well run mics on stage, but secretly wish you could? How about a marching band in an enclosed dome football stadium? Well, those are great questions, Brent. Thank you. Here's what I would do. On a budget, I'd go for a small recorder like the Zoom H5 or even the H1 and use the built-in XY stereo mics. I'd go as close as I can and throw it on a tripod, either a small one or a larger one if you can get away with it, and record both scenarios that way. If money was no object, I would get a couple of Line Audio CM4 mics, a Rode soundbar mic spacer thing, and a good recorder like a MixPre, and put that combo on a tripod. But since you're on a budget, the Zoom H5 or H1N are your best options. $300 or so for the H5, sometimes cheaper when on sale, or about $100 for the H1N. Both will work great, but the H5 will have better sound. Hope this helps. Speaking of Zoom H5 and H1, Vladimir asks, Hi, this is a great idea. Thanks very much, Vladimir. What's the best way to reduce preamp hissing from a recording made with a Zoom H1, H5, etc. handy recorders? I've tried several open source solutions, but they've degraded the sound quality, making the piano sound dull. While it's a loud instrument, its dynamic range is very high, and in quiet pianissimo parts, I hear a lot of hissing. Regards, Vladimir. Well, Vladimir, another great question. The first thing I would suggest is never to go above 5.5 on the input gain on the Zoom H series recorders. Their preamps become really noisy above that level. Instead, bring up the clip gain later when you've imported it into your computer or editing device. You'll circumvent a bunch of noise that way. But there may still be some hiss that you'll find on the pianissimo parts. For this, a cheap but effective plugin to buy is Waves Clarity VX, the $29 one, usually on sale for that, assuming that you're using some form of DAW to edit your recordings. You don't need the Pro version. It has just one main dial that you turn up and you can remove hiss and noise. Sometimes it's incredibly effective and other times it just isn't. But it's just about the cheapest way to achieve a good result that I can think of. Short of upgrading your gear, this is the best solution in my mind. You could go crazy and get into the Isotope RX plugins, but they're expensive and come with a bit of a learning curve, a huge one. Hope this helps. Good luck, Vladimir. Moving on, Rounder1 asks, here's a movie production question. What other methods are used other than a shotgun mic in movie production? In a wide shot where a shotgun cannot get close enough to the subjects without being in frame, what are the usual alternatives? I would think first of a lavalier, but wouldn't they pick up rustling sounds? And how would they be hidden? I now turn to you for the reveal. Well, Rounder, you'd be right about the lav mic, but that's not the only way. I'll explain. Many times, audio should match the camera view. So many times a shotgun is used even from great distances, but the shotgun would be likely a Sennheiser 816, which is pure torture for the boom op since it weighs a lot, and at the end of a boom pole, it just became like 100 pounds. It's like an initiation thing for you to boom that. So they use that a lot, but it may sound terrible in post. So while that's recorded, it may not even be used. There's always a lav as a backup. Always. Every actor is wearing a wire attached to a wireless radio transmitter. A lot of times it's strapped to the ankle or many other places depending on wardrobe. As for rustling, there are many ways the location sound people get around this. Mostly there are third-party companies that produce little nests that the lav mic can fit into, like a makeup sponge with a hole punched in it. The mic rests in between a very dense sponge, kind of like memory foam, which helps protect it from rustling if under the clothes. There are all kinds of cool gadgets that not only hide the mic, but protect it from being hit or rubbed. Sometimes if an actor is wearing a button shirt, a very small mic, usually a Countryman B6, is threaded through the buttonhole and secured just behind the button, kind of like out of view. You can't see it, but it's there, just behind the button, so little. And that's used. But those makeup sponges, actually, they use makeup sponges sometimes, actual packs of makeup sponges, which they make themselves. A lot of people can contrive all kinds of stuff that work. But lavs aren't always on the chest. A lot of times it's hidden in the frames of glasses or in the hair or under a hat. Sometimes it's hidden in an umbrella or a prop nearby or objects in their hands. Those are called plant mics. Finally, a lot of times the audio you're hearing in the movie wasn't recorded on set at all, but rather in a recording studio in a process called ADR, which is automatic dialogue replacement. This is an entire skill discipline of its own, and it's used a lot more than people think. The actors will come in for an ADR session once there's picture lock, and they'll repeat their lines take after take until it's in sync with their mouths and sound natural. When all else fails, this is the failsafe. I hope that answered your question, Rounder. Thanks very much. All right, moving on. Nate from Thailand asks, "Hi, I'm very new to audio recording. Do you have any recommendations on how to soundproof my room on a budget? I'm living in a quite noisy environment. Dynamic mics help, but I'd prefer using a condenser mic and somehow making my room less susceptible to the outside noise. Otherwise, please make me smile as you usually do on your videos." Love every one of them. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nate. By the way, I love your name, Nate. It's a solid name. I wonder why I like that name so much. Anyway, to answer your question, it's almost impossible to soundproof anything fully. There are so many variables that, short of buying or building an isolation booth, it's going to be a tall order, unfortunately. Sound pollution is the plague of the 21st century. It's everywhere, and it pervades our very lives. Most don't even notice it. But if a 19th century chap time traveled to now, he would undoubtedly complain of the constant, incessant noise that encompasses the planet 24/7. In fact, I did actually snatch a 19th century chap and took him on a 21st century journey of exploration. For an afternoon, anyway. Here's us just after we landed here in this timeline. It didn't go well. I had to lend him my AirPods to use as earplugs. He couldn't stand it. And then I had to swiftly take him back home. And that facehead still has my AirPods. That one was just for you, Nate. Mitigating room reflections and acoustically treating your space is one thing. But stopping the outside noise from bleeding in is quite another, especially low-frequency sounds like car and bus rumble. The only way to get close to what you're after is to either build or purchase an isolation booth or go underground and build or purchase an isolation booth. Or you could move to a sizable deserted island somewhere in the middle of the Pacific, like right in the middle of the island there. That might help. Short of that, any room you'd be in is a resonator for loud noises outside. It's like picking up an acoustic guitar and putting the body to your ear and then yelling. You'll hear the guitar body resonate with the external sounds your throat hole is making. Sorry I couldn't be more helpful, but that's the best I got for you. So, moving on. Roland Barendonk, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, asks, "Wow, what a great upload today. I really enjoyed it." Thank you. But something is puzzling me now. When you record nature sounds, birds singing in the forest, etc., with a MixPre and Clippys, you get a very clean result, and I thought that is what you should be aiming for. But with the results to be too clean to listen to at home, and should it be processed in post to give it some color then? Is the original sound of birds singing in a forest too thin and make it an appealing end result? I already thought of taking an extra mic for the low frequencies and add that in post to the Clippy track so that it will become a bit richer. But I wonder if that will be enough to make it interesting in total to listen to. Okay, I think I know what you're asking. So should you color that sound? Should you add a third mic to capture low rumble and make it more round in the bottom? And should you do anything to color that in post? Thanks for your excellent question. I did already answer this question in the comments section, as you know, but it deserves an answer here. So this is what I say to that. Clean is king for nature ambiances. That's what you should be looking for. Clean and accurate. Mixing in another mic could present phase issues. It would need to be done carefully and mathematically, but really, there's no need. Clippys are full frequency, and that should give you all you need. The only thing that one might do to nature or any ambience recording is multiband compression, sometimes. Because sometimes a bird squawking will pierce the ears of the listener, and in that case, you'll want to hunt down the offending frequencies and use compression only on that frequency. An easy all-in-one plugin for that is Soothe 2. Expensive, but might be my favorite plugin of all time. Pro Q3 also has multiband compression built in that is really awesome too. You can use that. But use it sparingly and only if you need it. And other than that, clean is the best policy with nature ambiances. So I hope that answers that. Cheers. All right, moving on. Dave asks, I want to ask you about the Zoom LMF-2 lavalier mic that goes with many Zoom recorders included. Is it any good, and how does it stand up against the Clippy? I was trying to find any reviews to no avail, but checked its specs, and it was pretty sensitive and seems to have a good signal-to-noise ratio on paper, but no frequency response anywhere. Also, what do you think about binaural recording? What is your favorite technique? Thank you. Well, Dave, thanks for the question. I think all of the Zoom lav mics suck donkey. They're thin and noisy and mostly an afterthought on Zoom's part. The Clippy EM272 Omni lav mics will run circles around any Zoom lav mic all day long. There's no question in my mind. But to be fair, the Zoom mics do work. It's not like they don't. You'll get intelligible audio from it. It just won't be great audio. If I were you, I'd buy a Clippy. Best bang for your buck. That's my advice. They're very quiet mics for electret condensers. I am unsure of the specs, but rest assured they're quiet enough for pro recording. As for binaural recording, that's a fabulous question and quite timely. I was recently sent an amazing binaural mic kit from Sound with Intelligence. It's a company. The mic kit is called the SR3D. I've just started playing with it, and let me tell you, I love it. There's actually already a review I've done for that mic in the pipeline that is set to air in a matter of weeks. And stay tuned for that one, because not only do I do a cool test with it, but I also just might be doing a giveaway contest. I'm just trying to work out the legal parts of that first, and then the video will air. So your question is super timely, Dave. But the simple answer is I love binaural recording. That would be my favorite technique for immersive audio. Second favorite is a couple of Omnis and an A-B configuration. So like 40 centimeters apart from each other. And that like the Clippy EM272s. And that makes a great sound. Thanks, Dave. Great questions. Moving on. Con Farhan writes, I hope I'm saying that right, Con Farhan. Hi, I enjoyed watching your videos. Thank you. Love your knowledge and presenting style. Thank you. My question, and I am no sound engineer, but am a busy VO artist. Very good. I use the Apollo Twin X plus the TLM 103. Nice combo. Adobe Audition, and my chain is generally Unison SSL, or Avalon. Both are great, or 88RS, those are, or API, or 1084, or Manly. Those are all great preamps. The rest is C-Suite CVox, another great plugin, and Empirical De-esser, yep. Neve DFC, of course, this is sounding familiar, and an LA2A Gray, or the Oxford Dynamic EQ. All of these are great, and I know where you're going with this. Now, all of this is inspired chain from the Microphone Assassin's channel. Yep, awesome channel. It is an awesome channel. Okay, so he goes on to say, I have a sound booth, but still after recording I have to clean up noise. Not room noise, but the chirr in between dialogues, which happens after normalization to -1. The cleanup takes my time and gets me a bit frustrated. What is the best way to go for me? Also, I'm thinking to invest in the Sphere by UA. What is better for me, DLX or the LX? Thank you. Well, Con, I had reached out to Con to clarify what he meant by the chirr sound between what I'm assuming is takes, but was unable to get clarification in time for this video. So I'm assuming he's talking about the pops and clicks in between the VO takes as he's strung together. That shouldn't be happening, and I'd really need to hear or even see what the issue is to properly give advice. On the surface, it may be able to be repaired with an expander/gate, but I'd hate to give you bad advice since I'm not quite sure what the problem exactly is. As to your second question about the Universal Audio DLX or LX Sphere mic, let me first let you know that these mics are amazeballs. I mean, truly mind-blowing, astounding emulation mic. In fact, I'm currently talking into the L22 Sphere mic, which has now been rebranded as the DLX. I cannot recommend this mic enough. I mean, listen to this guy. This is the DLX right here. I don't even know which emulation I went with in the end. I thought today I was going to try the U87. Maybe I did. I don't know. But this is that mic. This sounds really good. This is the DLX. So I cannot recommend this mic enough. It's the best mic that I currently own. And I was against any kind of emulation mics, but man, hands down, the best. And the review for this is imminent. But you asked which one, the DLX or the LX. The DLX is this one right here, very large and has 2 capsules and a special 5-pin dual cable that goes with it. It also has a pad switch and some other switches on there. The LX is its little brother. It's a little bit smaller and more scaled down. It doesn't have any switches, but it's got the same capsule, different cable, and it's less money. I have never personally played with the LX, but I know someone I trust who has, and so do you. His name is Mark Yoshimoto Nimkov, the microphone assassin, as he is sometimes known here on YouTube, and he's done some extensive testing. His analysis is that if you're into all sorts of audio stuff like music plus VO and other things, the DLX is preferred, this one. But if you only do VO work, then the LX is not only acceptable, but preferred. It has a much tighter sound that works well with voiceover. Just be sure to factor in the purchase of the Bill Putnam Collection emulations as he's tested out. You can actually check his channel out right here, The Microphone Assassin, and where you can see where he does all kinds of different videos where he's testing both of them. Anyway, hope that answers your question. Good luck. MindoWorks asks, some questions from a fellow YouTuber. What's your day job? How do you find making videos and the day job balance? And what are the plans for the future of this channel? Born in Lithuania, currently for the last 15 years in UK, more precisely Scotland. Well, Mindo, I guess I should let you know a little bit about myself here, about what I do. I am secretly commissioned by the government to conduct stealth audio research and collection while space-time traveling through a few choice centuries. Not a government, the government. It's an Illuminati thing. But they're not the bad guys. That's just what the real bad guys want you to think. Yes, sound collecting through time pays not in money, but in trinkets, in the form of microphones and other high-end audio gear. How else do you think I can afford such great gear and broadcast from an unfinished basement? It's grueling work, but I enjoy it. I balance both my YouTube channel and the time traveling part by writing my videos during the actual traveling part of the traveling through time. It's not like the movies, it's not an instant process. It's long and tedious sometimes. It gives one a lot of time to think about things and get paperwork done, such as video writing. But when I shoot these videos, it's all pre-written and I'm reading off a teleprompter like I'm doing right now. In fact, every word I say right now is being read off of a teleprompter. And I have to be careful not to type a question mark where it doesn't belong. But no, actually, I spend all my money on microphones and gear, so I can't afford to live anywhere. I'm just squatting in some guy's house and using his electricity. Which one is true? Or is neither true? You be the judge. Tall tales, remember? Who knows what may become of the Time Preservation Society in the future. As long as people like watching these videos, I think I'll keep doing them. Maybe I'll get sponsors and make some money one day. That would be great. Maybe then I can decide to spend my money on better microphones and gear when given the choice between a home to live in or audio equipment. Strategery. But honestly, I hope it keeps on going long after I'm gone. The tall tales are so much wonderful fun. I owe that type of humor to Orson Welles. Love that guy. Thanks for the questions, Mindo. Moving on. Yes. Clara from Germany asks the following. It's a two-part question here. Question 1. I tried linking a lav mic to the Zoom H5 and then to my DSLR to record video and audio simultaneously to an MP4 file. I know that recording a WAV file separately is more ideal, but it's just a lot more work to sync. I use a lav because my videos are mostly makeup demonstrations and a large mic ruins the shot. When comparing the audio quality to what I hear when I plug the lav directly into the camera, I found that the latter sounded better. Audio recorded directly to the Zoom H5 sounded the best, of course, but is there a reason for the lav routed through the H5 and the camera being poorer than a lav direct to the camera? Okay, and question 2, I never seem to get even sounding audio when normalizing levels using DaVinci Resolve, with either relative and independent selected as the method. I simply resort to adjusting clips individually if audio differences are noticeable. That might just be the best solution, but is there something else I should try that can help me work quicker in that respect? Okay, well, thanks for the questions, Clara, from Germany. Okay, to answer your first question, yes, recording into the H5 and then going into your camera is effectively converting analog to digital and then back to analog and then through a cable and then into a really bad preamp, which is your camera, and then converted to digital another time. So it can only sound worse. But if you must record into the camera, which is not the best audio, then going direct is probably preferred. There is no reason to use the H5 in that setup, since your camera has a 3.5mm mic input and its own plug-in power, assuming it does. Usually they do. Alternatively, if you don't mind the extra step, you could record using the H5 and then send a line to your camera just for sync purposes, and then dump both the camera footage and the H5 audio recording, and then in the edit page of DaVinci Resolve, you can highlight both the H5 audio and the video before you've dragged them into the timeline, and right-click and then choose Auto Sync Audio, and then based on waveform. In less than a minute, the camera audio will be replaced with the H5 audio right on the raw file automatically. Then you can deselect both of them, then select just the video, since it's already now been added to the video file, and then drag your video file onto the timeline as usual, and then you've got a synced audio. Bippity bam. So you're replacing the crappy camera audio with the H5 audio, and it automatically syncs to it. So you just drag that video and then put it on your timeline, edit as usual, and that should be much better audio. So that's a suggestion. That's what I do. As to your second question, I never personally normalize audio at all. I instead opt to manually increase the clip gain a few decibels or until it seems loud enough and isn't clipping, and then edit the video. Adjusting each quiet part to be louder manually is how a lot of post-sound editors do it for movies. But for videos and how I would do it for my videos, you might look at multi-stage compression or limiting. If you have a lot of fluctuation in dialogue volume when you're recording, then it's good practice to figure out why that is. If you're using a lav mic, as you said, perhaps when you move your head around, you're at times getting further away from the mic. In this case, I would opt for a small diaphragm condenser mic mounted above your head out of the camera frame and then pointed at your upper chest here. This will allow for free movement with minimal change in volume. It's just a trick of the trade. For fixing audio that's been done that way, along with the usual noise removal, EQ, and multiband compression, if you do any of those things, I would start with a really fast compressor like the stock one in DaVinci Resolve, and then follow that with another compressor so that one compressor is not doing all of the heavy lifting. It's another technique that's used a lot. You use a compressor and then another one underneath it so they're both compressing just a little bit. And then I'd follow that with a limiter, and this will squish down your transients and loud parts and allow you to raise the volume of the overall audio so it's louder and more controlled. I mean, in theory, it doesn't always work that way, but you could try that and see if that helps a lot. But I think the first thing first is just to try to get better audio. So pointing that mic at your upper chest area so that when you move, see, this is pointed at my mouth, but if I had another mic, if I had a small diaphragm condenser and I had it pointed here, this is where I would point it. So as I move my head around, you're still getting that same sound and it's not fluctuating too much. So that's a way to get more even audio for your videos. It takes some practice to do all of those things, but there are plenty of great videos on how to do this here on YouTube. I hope that was easy to follow. If not, let me know and I'll further clarify it for you. Thank you very much. Okay, so Bill Ward from Scotland asks, "Hi, new to sound recording. I bought a Zoom F2 and am pleased with it so far. If you don't have to make any settings on it, because it's a 32-bit recording, then why do other types of recorders still exist at all?" Hey, a bit of a snarky question, he says. "I realize you'll need stereo, multiple inputs, etc., but I hope you get my drift." I get it. Why would you record with anything but 32? I get it. I've been playing about with the supplied mic and a Boya MM1 and have ordered a Clippy. When I normalize the Zoom F2 result in a PC, does this introduce a lot of hiss? The noise floor, I think this is called. Can I test this equipment for this? I'm mostly interested in the urban environment, so I haven't been anywhere really quiet yet. Your channel is very informative and humorous. Cheers. Well, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate those kind words, Bill. Okay, the F2 may sound like it's up there with the other F-Series recorders due to the 32-bit recording and the F-Series name, but it's kind of a noisy recorder. The preamps aren't the best in there. You're bound to get some hiss when boosting the clip gain in post. I've only played with the F2 a few times and wasn't all that impressed, probably because I was comparing it to the F6 at the time. Also, I don't believe it can record in stereo. I think it's a mono thing. So ambience may not sound as immersive as you might hope. It's more of a lav body pack that doesn't have a radio transmitter. It's meant for clipping onto talent or wedding participants or the like, and then setting and forgetting it. So it has one mono input and it's very small and you can just put it out of sight. If you do get some noise floor with it, a plugin like Waves Clarity VX, once again, might help. But it also might hinder very quiet recordings. So you never know if it's going to work or not. So while the F2 is marketed as a field recorder, it's mainly for body-worn projects and for voice. The noise isn't a problem when the source you're recording is close to the mic, like on a person who's talking. My advice to you is to upgrade your recorder for stereo ambience recordings if that's what you're after. A Zoom H1N will do nicely. Just make sure to keep that gain under 5.5 to minimize any unwanted noise floor generated by the recorder's preamps. The H1N doesn't have a 32-bit mode, but that's hardly needed for urban ambience anyway. Just keep your gain low. Also, getting a stereo pair of Clippys that both terminate in a combined single stereo 3.5mm connector is preferred for ambiances. I hope this helps. Sorry it may not be the answer you were hoping for, but thanks again for the question. Jerry from Canada asks, I record a lot of videos in theaters or concert venues. Sound often gets muddled when it bounces around the venue. I use a Rode NT4 attached to a Sound Devices MixPre 3 on the edge of the stage. I also record the line out from the house mixer on a Tascam DR60. How do I minimize the impact of the sound reflections of the venue? Great question, Jerry. And Canada is a wicked cool country, I hear. Okay, I'm assuming the issue is with the reflections from the stage itself, because if it's the theater walls, then that's a huge undertaking to fix. If the mic is too close above the stage floor, then you'll be getting floor reflections really quickly into the mic. I think perhaps the Rode NT4, which is a stereo mic, may be the wrong option. Have you considered instead boundary microphones? They're sometimes called PZM mics. These are special microphones designed for exactly this. They're small and flat and are discreet. They shouldn't get in the way of performances and are great for potential phase issues. You could place 3 of them on the stage, like one stage left, one stage right, and one in the middle, and then pipe those mics into the MixPre 3 and work with phase in post, if there are any issues at all. They're not terribly expensive and might be a solution for you. I remember reading an article on stage miking somewhere. I'll find it and put it in the description section for you below, so check for that. So hopefully that helps you. Thanks for your question, Jerry. All right, moving on. Mauro from Italy asks, I have a Zoom H5 and I often visit... Man, that's coming up a lot, the Zoom H5s, eh? And I often visit places in the woods where there are no sounds or cars or other human activities. The woods are frequented by a wide variety of birds, and I would like to record them. What type of microphone would you recommend for recording nature sounds? Thanks for your question, Mauro. I have 2 recommendations for you with this. For more of a wide, total forest ambience recording, I would go with a pair of, what do you think? Clippy EM272 mics, of course. The XLR terminated ones are the best ones. And since you have the H5, then you can accommodate those connectors. You can space them about 40 centimeters apart on a stick on a tripod. There's all kinds of ways you can find to mount them. If you're looking for more of a directional stereo sound, I would go with a pair of Line Audio CM4s. Once again, those mics. While the CM4 mics have a wider beam than other cardio small diaphragm condenser mics, they're still much more directional than Omnis. You can space them using a Rode soundbar spacer or either in an ORTF or in an XY configuration on a tripod. Just make sure your H5 mic gain, once again, is under 5.5 to minimize the hiss. And again, you can increase that up in post to compensate for it being low if it is. I hope that helps you, Mauro. Cheers. Shane Krause asks, hi, mate. Don't know if you're UK or Australian, but it would be good to know. You didn't tell me. Would love to get your opinion on the best portable recorder for special effects and ambiances using the onboard mic only. No external mics and under 400 US clams. Thanks. Love your channel. Thanks for the question, Shane. The best all-in-one recorder on earth is the Sony D100, in my opinion. But that's about $600 out of your price range. The second best is probably for you is the Zoom H5 at $300 or sometimes less. Boy, that recorder really has come up a lot in these questions. Very nice. Okay. The Zoom H5 is about your best bang for your buck. If you can find a Sony PCM M10, then that might also be a good buy for around $300 or slightly more. But they've been discontinued just like the D100. So eBay might have some. But the good thing about the Zoom H5, though, is the upgrade options. Not only mic capsule switching, which you can switch out new other mic capsules as like a cartridge, but also it has XLR inputs with phantom power for external mics should you need that in the future. And I've been to the future, and yes, you'll need that. Cheers, Shane. Camerahead Studios from USA asks, do you think the Zoom F8N Pro is a professional field recorder? And does it rival the Sound Devices MixPre series? Well, Camerahead, I think the F8N Pro is a beautiful professional recorder. It's incredible and versatile. It has, 75 decibels of gain and is ultra low noise at, I think, a minus 127 decibels of noise. MixPres are like minus 128, so really impressive. And it's considered one of the secret standards of the film industry, the F8N Pro. So yes, you've watched some movies where the dialogue or sound effects was recorded on the F8N or the F8N Pro. So you can't go wrong with that recorder. As for how it sounds or how it compares to the MixPre series, if you were comparing the MixPre 6.2 for the price, the Zoom has more relevant features. It has like more XLR ins, comparable noise floor. The dual SD card option is better than the MixPre, but both have 32-bit recording. Sound Devices have superior preamps, of course, and a better interface, but in an A/B test, you'd be hard-pressed to spot the difference. Also, if you work on pro sets, equipment bias is real, and some people lose potential jobs because they say they have Zoom recorders instead of a Sound Devices one. I've heard the stories. Because Sound Devices doesn't make cheap anything, and Zoom plays the entire field from like Fisher-Price to Rolls-Royce. But if you have the F8N Pro, then you're golden if you already have it. If you don't and want it, then get it. If you want the name recognition and the best of the best as far as sound quality, regardless of how minute the differences are, then get a MixPre. Hope that helps. Peshra from, I hope I'm saying that right, Peshra from Iraq asks, is the Clippy Lav good for a two-person interview, or is it very sensitive and picking up each other sound? I think you might be asking one of two things, but I'll cover both scenarios just in case. Okay, so thanks for the question, Peshra. If you want to record two different people in an interview with one Clippy mic, I would not advise it. If it's too close to one person, that person will be louder. And if it's spaced equally, you'd be picking up so much of the environment around them that the audio would be bad. Plus, you couldn't later easily adjust each mic in post. However, if you're asking if each person in the two-person interview is wearing a Clippy each, and if each Clippy would pick up each other, then yes, it would, potentially, depending on how close you are. So you might have some phasing issues too. So best in post to lower one mic when the other is talking, and then vice versa. That's usually what you do. Other than that, if you have a MixPre, there is a plugin you can buy that's a Mix Assist, and it does it automatically for you, which is really, really cool. But generally, yes, the Clippy sounds fantastic as a lav mic on interviews. It's quite large as lavs go, but they sound great. Thanks for the question. You know, it's funny. I think we're becoming like a Clippy, Line Audio, and Zoom H5 channel here. With all these questions, they seem to be all about those, which is great. This is fine because they're all cool stuff. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so FT Sakinen, I hope I'm saying that right. FT Sakinen asks, how to get sounds on video to sound like they're all from same microphone. I was watching Taylor Willard's video and all sounds seem the same. How could you go to that kind of direction with my filming in office, room, and outside, or techniques how to get the most similar sounding voices in different environments? That is tricky. Constant voice on videos would be so lovely to achieve. Okay, FT, thanks for the question. I think you're asking how can one get multiple mics in different environments to sound the same. If so, then here's my answer. It's tricky to do and can never be done perfectly, but you can get close with plugins that offer EQ matching like FabFilter Pro Q3 or Isotope RX has Dialog match and ambience match. All of these are expensive plugins with a little bit of a learning curve. But this is what the pros use. They're used to switching from boom to lav mics on the same actor on the same take due to problems with either audio from the boom or other technical issues. So when that happens, they have to find a way to make them not noticeably different. And these plugins sometimes work great. Other times, not so much. And they do it by hand with EQ and sometimes convolution reverbs, depending on the environment. Mostly, if at all possible, using the same mic for all the shots is the preferred way of doing it. But if you're talking about loudness, then that's just limiters or compressors or both, or just doing it by hand and making sure they match. But that's my answer. So hopefully that helps you. So cheers. All right. Chris from Fresh Old School and Deluxe Amplification, as it happens, asks, what's your desert island album? Well, I'm not going to give you a tall tale for this one. I'll give you the what it really is. It's a really cool question. My brain instantly went to one album, and there's a high chance you've never heard of the band before. The band is called I Mother Earth, and the album would be Scenery and Fish. I Mother Earth is a Canadian rock band that was huge here in the 90s. They were everywhere, and I eventually became friends with the guitarist, who incidentally is the greatest lead guitarist on earth. His name is Jeg Tanna, and he will knock your pocket socks off. Getting to know him may have been my best and greatest accomplishment of my life. Great question, Chris. What is your desert island album? In fact, you there. Yes, you, watching this right now. What is your personal desert island album? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. Zerufael from Ethiopia, I hope I'm saying that right. Zerufael from Ethiopia asks, I would love to know how you treated your space and how to build nice acoustic panels for small rooms, and also how you process a voiceover, including the plugins you use. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that's a timely question, Zerufael. I just shot a video talking about those questions exactly, and it's set to air in a few weeks, somewhere around there. But a quick answer is lots of moving blankets and curtains. I'm building acoustic panels in the spring, so I'll do a video about them in a couple of months if I can. As far as processing my voice tracks, I generally use noise removal. Universal Audio C-Suite CVox, and then EQ, and then Soothe 2 to remove any harsh frequencies, and then a limiter. Sometimes I use stacked compressors, like I said earlier, in there as well, but I'll be talking at length about that exact thing in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that one. But I hope this answer will tide you over for now. All right, and we are on to, I think, the very last question. Yes, last question. Finally, Mark Yoshimoto Nimkov, YouTube's own The Microphone Assassin, asks, what does he ask? He asks, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? To that, I give you the correct answer. It is an average of about 24 miles per hour, or 39.6 kilometers per hour, or 11 meters per second. I absolutely did not look that up on Google an hour ago while eating Ritz crackers and washing it down with a cold ginger ale. Whew. Well, we got through them all. Special thanks to everyone who participated in this by asking me anything. I hope any of these answers helped you, at least in some small way. And my tall tales for Mindo were appreciated. I'll end the video here and bid you all adieu. Till next time. Bye now. End transmission. Yes, hopefully this was good. Watch these ones, and regular review video coming next week. Thank you very much.